Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I'm here with a surprise video, just a little extra on the hop day. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's Best Fishes stamp set. I don't use the outline dies. I use the Gnome dies Sign Add Ons, the fish stencil, along with the bait shop stamp set, our Booth Fishing Add Ons, our Chubby Bunny die, our tropical dies, and our rectangle dies too. And I'm also using Doodlebug's gingham linen and their dot stripe paper. So first I start out with a piece of paper-trank white cardstock cut at 4.25 by 11, scored at 5.5 inches with my Martha Stewart scoreboard and my Teflon bone folder. All my die cutting was done with my Gemini today. And I cut out two rectangles, 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm just trying to see how big that sentiment is. So I'm going to tape that tropical die, die onto that paper and cut it out. And then I'm going to add some powder tulle. And I'm going to use the fish stencil. So I'm pulling it out. And I will get it in the right spot. And then I'm going to do some ink blending. So I'm just sort of figuring out where it's going to go. And I will tape it on the back of the stencil just to keep it in place. And I'm pulling out Distress Oxide ink in Chipped Sapphire. So I'm going to really heavily ink these fish. So I've got one rectangle that's still at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then the other one, this shorter one, this is going to be the water. So I've got sky and water. So there we go. And I will use Simon Says Stamp clear fine detail embossing powder. There we go. And I just do it over a coffee filter. And now I'm going to melt it with my Marva Heat tool. And then now you've got some shiny fish, and they show up really well on that pattern paper. That's the dot stripe, but I use the dot side from Doodlebug. And there we go. So kind of fun. Now I'm going to stick that down to my original blue stitched rectangle that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And that was cut from Doodlebug's Rainbow Petite Prints in gingham linen on the gingham side. So it's sort of like that powder blue color for the sky. And now I'm going to add the leftover piece from that die to the inside. So that will be my inside paper. And I'm going to stick that down with some ATG tape. Just trying to line up the borders. And then I have this little tiny bobber that I put together on the Booth Fishing Add Ons assembly video. That's cut out of paper-trank white cardstock and paper-trank pure poppy cardstock. So I'm going to add that to the inside. Now this is the freebie that you get as if you spend $60, buy something, from the late release. It's only while supplies last, and it's literally just for Thursday and Friday. So when we run out, they're gone. They will, eventually end up in the store. So this is cut out of Nina Desert Storm and paper-trank white cardstock. There we go. And I stamped in VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. So Best Fishes, that is from the stamp set Bait Shop. So now on the outside, I'm going to use that Best Fishes stamp set. I'm using my Misty, and I'm going to stamp that Bobbing By to wish you a happy birthday. And that'll be in the upper left-hand corner. So I'm just going to make sure it's as straight as I can get it. And the nice thing about a Misty is you can stamp it more than once if you need to. So I'll be using VersaFine Claire Nocturne ink. And remember, it takes a bit for this to dry, so be careful. It can smudge. There we go. So a couple of times, and I get a good image right there. So kind of fun. And now I'm going to put together some, little images. So these are from the Booth Fishing Add Ons. And so white and pure poppy cardstock from paper-trank for the bobber. And then that's pure poppy, and then American Crafts silver for the little hook. There we go. We'll weight that down. Now I cut it out again, that same the same rectangle in paper-trank white cardstock. And I just want it to be sturdy because I'll be popping this up. So I'm just lining it up, sticking it down with my ATG tape. And now I'm taking out my little fishing lure that I did, and I'll glue that in place using my reverse tweezers and some Barely Art glue. And then I'm figuring out where my little bobber is going to end up, but then I changed my mind. So I put that aside for now. There we go. I was going to stick that down, but I thought, no, I've got to use, get a spot for my twine first. So I'm going to poke a couple of holes using my Tim Holtz poker tool there. And I've got some twine. It's like silver and white twine from a Lawn Fawn, and I'm using a bent piece of wire to thread it through. You know, so I'll stick it in the hole, and then I'll it's sort of like a, you know, thread, you know, a needle threader, right? That's the idea. But it's just a piece of thin wire. I'm just going to open it up to make sure I can grab the end, and then I'll pull it through. And that's another reason why I wanted that sturdy paper train white cardstock on the background, on the back, because it'll, you know, gives me a little bit of more sturdiness so the paper doesn't rip as I'm pulling through. And then I'm just using some washi tape to tape this twine to the back, and I will trim off the little tails. And I'm going to have it kind of, you know, move to the side. I kind of like that. And I'm using Bearly Art Glue, and I'm going to sneak some behind that twine and weight it down just so it's stuck in place. And then I will pop up this little bobber, fishing bobber, with some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. So, you know, easy stuff. And I'll have it bobbing on top of the water. And then I have these little glasses. That's from the Chubby Bunny die. It's got a tiny pair of glasses, and I'm going to pop those on. That's cut from American Craft or Paper Train black cardstock. And then I'm using Doodlebug's ICU shape sprinkles, and they're just little tiny black dots, and I'm going to add them to the glasses, just, you know, for some fun little eyeballs, using my pen blade to pick them up. Isn't that fun? I just think it's adorable. Okay, so now I'm going to use, this is Simon Says Stamp Big Mama foam tape roll. It's a huge roll, and it is very thin foam tape. So you get, you know, some dimension, but not as much as like 3M foam tape. You know what I mean? So it's just a little bit. And this is really sticky stuff. So you want to use non-stick blades, you know, and it's really hard to get the backing off of it. So I always use a pen blade to kind of lift up the corner to help me get the backing off, because this is sticky as anything. And once you get this on in place, it's not going anywhere. So you want to make sure you're really careful lining things up. So now I am just sort of trimming down this foam tape, and I want it like evenly covering the whole back of this card base. And then that way, you know, nothing gets dented. You know, I don't know if I'm going to end up mailing this or, you know, hand delivering it. I have no idea. Okay, I did peel off all the backing, and now I'm lining that up, and I actually stand up to do it. And I pulled out my foam pad just so I have a black contrast so I can see the white border clearly. Okay, now I pulled out my glossy accents, and I'm just using little droplets. I'm using my Studio Katia embellishment wand, and I'm using their little clear round droplets. And I'm going to sprinkle them, you know, coming up from some of the fish, sort of like bubbles, right? I think it's kind of fun. And I'm just adding little droplets. I like to use glossy accents when something is clear and shiny because it sort of blends in, right? Right away you get that clear look. I know some glues you can use, you know, it'll still work and they'll dry clear, but they look milky at first, and I kind of want them to look like they're going to look at the end. So that's why I use glossy accents, and it's really a strong adhesive. So there we go. A few more little clear round droplets. And isn't that cute? Super cute stuff. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, Be Inspired, the Jaded Blossom store, to get your hands on these amazing products. And thank you as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. You want to be a follower at Leanne K over on YouTube and the Jaded Blossom YouTube site. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.